This podcast is recorded on the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, who were our first teachers and storytellers. I extend my respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Welcome to the Habit Nerd podcast. I'm Dr. Bree Hearn, and if you're interested in habits, those tiny, powerful behaviours that shape who we are and what we achieve, you've absolutely landed in the right place. Join me each week as I interview a wide range of experts, dive into evidence-based strategies, and give you practical tools to help you build habits that stick and break the ones that hold you back. Hello there, welcome back to another episode of the Habit Nerd podcast. I'm delighted to have your company. Welcome if you're a new listener to the podcast, and a big thanks to those of you who are already supporters and already spending time with me each week or whenever you can fit the time in to have the Habit Nerd in your ears. All right, today, slightly unhinged, slightly unusual topic, and that is unconventional or uncommon things that I'm teaching my kids that I think will give them an advantage in life. Now, I want to give a quick disclaimer. This is about parenting, and because they are uncommon things and unconventional things, they're not things that I was necessarily deliberately taught as a kid. I want to give the disclaimer to say that I love my mum and dad. I have got an enduring gratitude for everything that they did for me and everything that they taught me and my brothers and sister as we were growing up. I really know that everybody does the best they can with what they have. So lots of things that my mum and dad taught me, I am actively teaching my girls, and I'm very deliberate about it. Things like the gift of remembering people's names and remembering things about them to then make them feel, seen and special next time you see them. The gift that they gave me is a sense of community and a real effort to give back to the community through acts of service. So, whether that through local sporting clubs or the schools. Huge respect for the amount of time and effort my parents put into those sorts of things, fundraising and volunteering, because it made them very respected within the community. They were obviously helping, but I could see the reciprocal benefits there. They were able to gain a wide community and gain a huge amount of respect. So they're definitely things that I've learned and that I am hopefully modeling and passing on to our girls. Both of my parents are very organized. Having 6 children, they had to be, particularly my mum. So, if she could do something before the date that it was due, she would do it. She would always prepare, meals ahead of time. And I really learnt, that tomorrow Brie will be happy if I do certain things today when I can. I learned that from my mum. My dad is really clean and orderly, and I've really taken that from him, that sense of outer calm equals inner calm. So when the house is tidy and when the environment is clear and clean, it allows my brain and my nervous system to be clear as well. Heaps more things. But there are some things that I'm teaching my girls that are on the uncommon or the unconventional side, and they aren't things that I necessarily learned as a kid. Now, I obviously will make a heap of mistakes as a parent. I'm no parenting expert, because who among us doesn't make mistakes? But I do believe that these things will give my girls an advantage in life. So the first one is rejection is redirection, or said another way, rejection is protection. Now, I first heard this maybe 5 or 6 years ago from a lady that I didn't know, but we were staying in the same caravan park at Christmas time. So we were on holidays. And I was telling her that I was disappointed that I'd missed out on these electric scooters that I wanted to get my girls for Christmas. They were in primary school at the time. And their cousins had gotten them, and by the time I had gone to buy them, they'd all sold out. And I was disappointed because I really wanted them to have them and they'd missed out. And I was telling her that, that was something that I felt I'd let myself down. And this lovely lady said, "But Bree, have you ever heard that rejection is protection?" She said, "You probably, had you bought those scooters, the girls would have had an accident, or they would have broken, or that something would have gone wrong." And because she said, nothing that you miss out on is wasted. There's always a reason. Rejection is protection, or rejection is redirection. Now, I've heard a few different experts and authors talk about this in different contexts, but for the crux of us, it means if you miss out on a job, say you go for a job and you miss out, you're being redirected to something better, something more suited, something more aligned, but you just can't see that yet. Another context is if a friendship or a relationship ends, by all means, we grieve that and we feel sad about that. But it does help to know that we are being protected or we are being redirected. That somebody that suits you better, that loves you more completely, is waiting for you when you're ready. Or maybe it's simply that you will have a better life without that person, even if you can't see it at the time. So rejection is redirection. It's redirecting you, putting you on a path where you should be going. Or rejection is protecting you from something that is undesirable, but you can't see that at the time. I went for a job a few years ago and I didn't get it. Then I happened to be in that workplace where I would have been employed had I been successful in the job a few months later. And as I looked around, the environment and the people that I would be working with and the job that I would be doing had I been successful looked so boring. It looked so misaligned, and it just would not be something that I would be interested in at all, or that I would even be good at. So whilst I felt the initial rejection and the initial disappointment, I looked back and it was the job that I was not supposed to get because it just would not have been good. I got something else. A few weeks after that interview, I was successful on something else that is far more aligned. So I was rejected, and that was redirection. It was protection. Had I taken the job, had I been successful on that job, the new, much better aligned one would never have come into my consciousness. When we were house hunting last year, every time we missed out on something and I felt a bit stressed or annoyed about it, I dropped into myself, gave it a moment, and said, rejection is protection. Rejection is redirection. And of course, as soon as I handed over that trust to God or source or the universe or whatever is bigger than me, the perfect house in the ideal area popped up, and we are immensely happy here. So all of the rejection was protecting us, was redirecting us closer to something that was far more aligned. We just needed to trust that that would happen. Now, this idea of being redirected after rejection or protected, I am really vocal with our girls about that. So when they try out for a team or they go for a part-time job interview, I am clear. Do your best preparation. And if it's meant to be yours, it will be. This takes the pressure off because if they miss out, I can say to them, oh, well, that wasn't right for you. Your opportunity is still coming, and when you're ready, it will be exactly the right thing. A related idea to this is that I say to them, you either win or you learn. So when you miss out on something or something goes wrong, there's a reason for it. It might be that you still have more to learn, or it might be that you didn't quite prepare well enough, or it becomes a lesson that you can bring into your next phase or your next opportunity. So even a loss, a rejection is never wasted because we either win or we learn. There's no losing. And I really want my kids to see that our life happens for us if we choose to see it that way. I can get a bit woo-woo with them, and sometimes I point out angel numbers, or I tell them stories about when I've asked to see a blue butterfly to help me make a decision or see if I'm on the right track with something, and then a blue butterfly, lands on my car or lands on the window. Call it prayer or God or a higher power, but I want them to have faith that things are working out for them. So the first unconventional, uncommon thing I'm teaching my girls is that rejection is redirection. Rejection is actually protection. Now, the second one is unconventional again, and that is that your external state matters. And by that, I mean how you dress, how your hair looks, how your accessories look, how your makeup looks, it matters. Now, this is unconventional because we have been taught that it's what's on the inside that counts and that how we look on the outside doesn't matter. And of course, I want our girls to know that they are kind and generous and clever and lovely friends and have an enormous amount in their character to offer. But what I'm talking more specifically about here is a psychological principle called enclothed cognition. Now, what it basically means in the simplest terms I can say is that you do your job better if you are happy with how you look. So you show up with more competence, with more confidence, with more energy if you feel like yourself. And feeling like yourself, a big part of that principle is feeling like you look the way that you want to look. Now, I want my girls to see that I take time picking clothes out that make me feel good and comfortable and like myself, because I genuinely do feel more confident and competent and energetic when I'm wearing an outfit that I love and shoes that match and that my hair is done and I have some makeup on. When I was a kid, I was watching an episode of Oprah. I must have been off school one day, the Oprah Winfrey Show, and she had a fashion expert on and they were talking about how to look good but be comfortable. And they were, doing sort of makeovers with mums at the time, I think. And she made the point, based on the experts that she was talking about, that when she's happy with her outfit, when she feels she looks in a way that is her best self, she gets more done. And I have always remembered that because I think about that. If I've got a really busy day at work and then I need to stop in at the shops on the way home, and then maybe I need to pop in to run some errands, I'm much happier to do it if I'm happy with my outfit. If I'm wearing a frumpy tracksuit and no makeup, I want to make myself small. I hide. Or if I bump into someone I know in the supermarket and I am, I've just thrown on a tracksuit and I haven't done my hair and my makeup's not done, I feel embarrassed. It might sound silly, and that's why this is unconventional, but it is true for me. And I want to be clear here. I'm talking about your external state mattering to you. So it's not about dressing for other people. It's not about, I want to look good so this person notices me or so this person envies my clothes or anything like that. This is completely internal. So the idea is with enclosed cognition, it's inside your own brain and your own energy that you feel more energetic, more confident, and more competent once you're happy with the way you look on the outside. And sometimes it is that my external shifts my internal. It's amazing what a bright colored jumper or a swipe of lipstick can do when I'm feeling tired or flat. And I say this to my girls all the time. I would much rather have less clothes in my wardrobe, but love and feel good in everything. I'm really happy to, shop secondhand on Depop for things that are really good quality and would otherwise be expensive, but that make me feel good. Or I save up vouchers and I shop, in stores where I know are really good quality because they're things that I feel like myself in. I model that, and I don't have a lot of clothes, but as I say, I love them all. And when my girls ask me, Mum, what should I wear? I always say to them, what would make you feel really good? What makes you feel confident? What makes you feel happy? Choose that. So the second slightly unconventional thing I'm teaching my kids is that your external state does matter. The third one is emotions are energy in motion. I think when I was a kid, I somehow internalized that big feelings were something to be afraid of. that it was bad to be really, really angry, or that when I was sad about something, the goal was to get happy again as soon as possible. So when I think about that now, there's the unpleasant feeling, and then there's the discomfort that I'm feeling the unpleasant feeling. So it's like a double whammy. There are sayings like, don't worry, which literally tells us it's not okay to worry. Or you may have heard, turn that frown upside down, which tells us that being mad or disappointed is something we need to either ignore or switch out of as soon as possible. I want my kids to know that all emotions are okay, that all emotions are safe, they're normal, and they're meaning they are not going to stick around forever. Emotions aren't just thoughts in your head, they're actually energy moving through your body. The word emotion literally means to move. So whenever you feel something, your body is actually doing something first. So I teach them anxiety. When they feel anxious, their heart's racing, their stomach's flipping, and they can't sit still. That's just the energy building up because your body thinks that you need to act. If you don't move your body, it turns into worry. When I interviewed Anna Ferguson last year, she is the author of the Vagus Nerve Reset. She says, when you're feeling anxious and your hands are shaking, make it bigger. If your hands are feeling wobbly, then make big circles with your hand. Turn them into big shakes. Go for a walk. Breathe. Shake it out, and the feeling of anxiety will often settle. Another one that is emotion is energy in motion is anger. Anger feels hot and explosive. That's a strong energy, and it is designed to protect you or to help you set boundaries around something. I teach my girls that if they bottle that up, it leaks out later as snapping at somebody or as ongoing tension. But if you move it safely through writing it down or playing sport or some kind of movement or even talking about it, it will pass. Another one where energy in motion is just emotion is sadness. Sadness is slower and heavier. I tell my girls that it pulls them inwards so that we can process change or we can process loss. And that crying is literally sadness moving out of our body. So I want them to know that crying is good. It's cleansing. It's helpful. I would be frightened if I saw my parents cry. And I think if I was to cry, my girls wouldn't like it either. But I want them to see that a big cry is actually a release and it is okay. So I'm teaching my kids that all feelings are okay, but that all behaviors are not. And that emotion is just energy in motion. We don't need to attach stories to why we're feeling a certain way. We can just experience our big emotions as human beings for as long as we need to. We can talk about them, and we know that everything changes, that we will be feeling different soon. So that third uncommon, unconventional thing I'm teaching my kids is that emotions are just energy in motion. And the last one is, again, slightly unconventional. I tell my girls, our words are our wand. I will often say, your words are your wand. And this comes from a Henry Ford quote, which is, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Now, I used to be a bit of a pessimist when I was younger, and my analytical, pragmatic brain sometimes sways that way as a form of protection. But something I don't think I ever learned as a child that I believe now, so I'm actively teaching this to our girls, is your brain treats what you believe as true and then builds your experience around it. Our brains are very clever. It's the RAS, the reticular activating system, and it can filter out or filter in whatever we put our attention to. So we can filter in the bad and filter out the good, or the opposite as the case may be. An example might be you're going to a busy shopping center and you're saying to yourself, oh, parking will be a nightmare today. your perception is skewed towards traffic and lack of parking spaces. So you start to feel annoyed in your body. Because of that, you start to drive erratically and you only try the normal areas that you like to park and you don't find a car spot. But if you say, I always get a great car park, your energy is different. You're more creative, you're more calm, and the spots show up, reinforcing that belief. So in that example, your words are your wand, your words are magic. You say parking's going to be a nightmare, and then your perception makes that true. But if you say, I always get a car park, your energy is completely different and the positive shows up. So I try and start the day with sentences like, today is going to be a great day. Or my latest favorite is, show me how good today can get. And I say that in front of my girls. Then I'm actively looking for evidence of things going right as opposed to things going wrong, because there is evidence for both in every day. Clinical psychologist Dr. Emily Musgrove, Dr. M, said to me, instead of saying, what if this goes wrong when you're worried about something, say you have to do a presentation or you've got a really big day at work and you're panicking, oh, I'm worried this is going to go wrong, try and flip it and say, what if this all works out? And note the energy change in your body. Now, this isn't Pollyanna thinking or magic thinking, because life is challenging and we know that. But saying our words are our wand, we can expect things to work out. So our brain seeks out evidence that problems are getting solved or opportunities are opening up. Our beliefs don't magically change our reality, but they do shape what we notice. They shape how our body responds and then what actions we take. And over time, that makes that belief feel true. So, habit nerds, those are 4 slightly unhinged, mildly unconventional, uncommon beliefs that I am deliberately instilling in my kids. You might think I'm a weirdo, but I've got lots of evidence that these 4 lessons, that rejection is redirection, that our external state matters, that emotions are just energy in motion, and that our words are our wand, are supporting them and me in this crazy world. I would love to know if you hold any unconventional, uncommon beliefs that are helping you. And I'd love it if you would share this episode with someone over on Instagram, put it on your stories, or let me know about your unconventional beliefs via DM. I always love to hear from you. Until our next episode, thanks a million for joining in, and I hope you have a really wonderful week. Thanks for being here for another episode of the Habit Nerd Podcast. I am so grateful for your time. If you enjoyed it or gained a fresh perspective, please share it with a friend, or maybe you feel like giving it a 5-star review, which will take you less than 30 seconds. I do love all of my habit nerds, and I see you showing up every day as your wonderful selves. So until next time, take care.